Hey guys, this is Johnny on the spot. Just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things I was thinking about, the issues with building the wall for our security. It's been needed for uh, 30, 40 years. We've needed this. They've built part of it. They've let a lot of it deteriorate. It should have been maintained better. Um, it just makes sense. I mean, there's no need to reinforce the gateway if there is no fence. I mean, that just doesn't even make logical sense. And for years, the Democrats and the presidents prior to Trump have said this is a crisis. And now that Trump says it's a crisis, then nobody in the Democratic Party believes him. They claim it's hate, it's immoral, and things like that. And yet, the American people, I'd say majority of the American people, voted for Trump for this particular issue to be handled. And they felt like he promised it, and he believed that he would do it, and he's done everything in his power to make sure that happens. And so I'm pleased with what situation is started at least. At least there's a plan to build the wall and finish the wall and give us some protection. For many reasons, not to mention the drug issue that we're having in this country, the sex traffic that's coming in for sex workers from Mexico, pedophilia that's coming through with unaccompanied minors that are coming into the country, that are being used in sex trafficking as well. You know, it's just a matter of common sense. Not to mention just the sheer numbers of people that we don't know who they are. Let's just be realistic. We don't know who they are. We don't know their true intentions. They have no means of maintaining a lifestyle for themselves. They will come and take jobs that probably are going to be under the table. They're going to make some money that way. They do work hard. They will normally find a way to make a living. The problem I run into with most of those situations with illegals would be they begin to take from the system that they're not putting into. So you're having taxpayers cover situations for people that have not legally acquired the opportunity. And so we're looking at situations where it's out of control. The numbers are out of control, and they're only going to get worse. The more they talk about this situation where they're going to bring them in to this country illegally for the sake of human rights, taking care of people is not our job. I mean, there's enough problems that we have in this country with homeless, veterans without homes and food and things to take care of themselves. And America has more problems than we can count on. We need to take care of this situation. And we need to take care of it now. I know that they say that they'll work jobs that Americans won't work. Americans in these particular jobs, especially in the trades, and I'm familiar with that from plumbing and any general construction. In the 80s, it was very easy, even out of high school, if you had the skill, you could make $15 an hour easily in plumbing field or any construction, general contractor, or general construction, anything like that. And I noticed in this area, when I was in the Navy in San Diego, there was a lot of Spanish-speaking, I would say maybe Mexicans that were living on the West Coast, and I had never really seen that many in as far as illegals in North Carolina, where I'm originally from, until about 35 years ago, probably. And then the influx of one or two, and then they would bring in a cousin, 3 cousins, neighbors, friends, And next thing you know, I mean, it just was a floodgate was opened with illegal labor, cheap labor. I mean, and a lot of the contractors were greedy. They found an opportunity to take advantage of people that didn't have, no legal status. And so, what are they going to do? If you paid them $9 or $8 cash, they're not going to. Who they're going to complain to? They can't go to the police. They're not going to go to the police. They're $7 an hour, and you could hire 3 guys at the cost of 1 American. Now you've got 10 guys staying in an apartment, maybe more. 10 to 15 guys staying in one apartment, driving 2 cars. They can keep their cost of living down, and their labor cost can be cheap, and they can survive. They were living, grown men living like they were college students, in dorms. And Americans weren't living that way. Americans had families, they had children, they had mouths to feed, they had families to provide for, they had property, they had houses and apartments and rent to pay. And all of a sudden their $15 an hour went away because they could hire 3 to 1 in comparison to what used to happen. As far as salaries and working, what I call, a lot of people call it today working wage. Well, hey, we had a working wage back in the 80s during Reagan. But now, it stunted the growth as far as stunted the pay scale for years. And now you'd be, it got to the point nowadays, it would be like a blessing that somebody was paying you $10 an hour to do a job 30 years ago that would, be paying 15. Now, this is in the South. We're not a union area, and we're not union represented down here. You go up north, and a plumber makes $50 an hour under the union contracts, or $35 to $50 an hour. It's not unheard of, but not around here. And again, cost of living is just not as high as up north as well. So there's some variances there. But again, you've got Americans that were trying to provide an entire family on $8, $10 an hour as grown men. They couldn't do it, so they had to find something else. Or they, as far as an owner, being a general contractor, you could do some expansion and maybe grow your business that way. But then again, it wasn't long after a lot of that cheap labor, they began to learn the trades or whatever was being taught. They would, improve their trade and also improve their relationship with the clients. And then they would branch off and create their own business and steal the business. They'd come in and underbid the man that had hired them, that had got them to the point where they were at that stage, and then began to undercut them. So it came back to bite the contractors in the rear end. And that was their fault. It was their greed. A lot of it really comes down to the greed in America, or really anywhere. If you can get cheap labor, that's why things that we buy today at Walmart are so cheap, because labor costs in China. It's not a level playing field. I mean, those folks over there are working for $50 a week versus an American that can't live off of $50 a day. So there's a difference in lifestyle and need in comparison to a lot of things. But again, they stunted the income, they stunted the growth of America basically. And then the income that was received by a lot of the illegal aliens was being shipped back over, being mailed back over home via Western Union. So, not only did they intercept our money, then they've intercepted the dollars and sent them to Mexico to family members there. So it was just, it's one big problem. And yeah, we could have Mexico pay for the wall. Yeah, they're not going to write a check, but we can, create situations where, intercept, charge fees for that money going, across the border, a 20% surcharge, and that surcharge would pay for the wall. That way, hey, they're getting the money. Usually they're getting the money, and they're sending the cash across the border anyway. So they intercept it. Hey, maybe it's drug money. We can start seizing the drug money that they've gotten to pay for the wall. once we have a secure border, then we know who's coming in. We can allow people to come in. That's not a problem. We're not against immigration. America's not against it. It never has been against immigration. What we're against is allowing just anybody to walk across the border at any location and walk in and steal, kill, and destroy the American way. It's just not going to happen. It can't happen any longer. And so now it's become political. It's a political hot potato for the Democrats. Not long ago, they all were for it. And if someone else would have stepped up and done what it took to repair the situation, they would have gone with it. They would have done it. Trump just said, basically, hey, I see the need, and we're going to do this. And I agree with him. So, you may not agree with everything that Trump does, but I think in the long run, especially for our kids, I think it's going to be beneficial. I think it's going to be beneficial all the way around. And I think that once that happens, you're going to see a lot of the people that are here illegal will begin to come forward. They're going to have to, especially if they're doing the real ID and things like that, and beginning to check with employers and holding employers accountable for hiring people that belong here and don't belong here. They're reporting those people, and they need to go. They need to go back and then come back through the normal process. I say they go to the back of the line. When you've come in here illegal, you got to go to the back of the line. And when you bring your kids here, hey, guess what? If you take your kids into a bank robbery, you're guilty. And what happens to you and your kids at that point? You've put them in that position. They didn't. So you can't allow, hey, well, they had the kids with them, so let's just let them take the money. Let's just let them break the law. That's not how it works. If you bring your kids in, you've put them in that position. So hey, let's just be smart. Let's put politics aside. Let's do what's best for America. Let's do what's best for the working person, the working people. Get back to a living wage where people can pay the bills and have a place and keep the families together and not have to work 3 jobs. Decide against medicine, car payment, gas money. The things real Americans that are, that work for a living, the backbone of America, the things that matter to them. Hey, a politician, I seen something the other day. How do you go in making $75,000, $150,000, whatever their base salary is, and each year they're coming out there improving their bottom line by $1.6 million. That's the average of every senator, congressperson. That's ridiculous. That's shady. There's no way that they can be making that kind of income. They can't increase their value, their bottom line, without somebody checking this stuff. And who's paying that? Who's giving them that money? Who's allowing them to increase their pay? Their bottom line, their value, their worth, their net worth grows $1.6 million when they're making $175,000 a year, which is too much anyway. I think they should learn how to live off of $50,000 like most standard Americans do, especially when they work 6 months a year. They got it better than most any job that I know. And of course, when they get one term, they get paid that for life. If they only work one term. So we got to put a stop to that. We got to put term limits on. Hey, but that's enough for tonight. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. Listen to old man gripe a little bit. But I appreciate it. And again, this is Johnny on the Spot coming at you. Hey, if you like the video, please like and share. And hey, leave a comment. Hey, let's keep it clean. Let's PG. Let's keep it real. No F-bombs and all that stuff. If you don't like me, you don't like how I look, that's fine. Hey, God don't like ugly, so it's all right. God loves me though. And so help us out. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe, share. Oh, and there's a PayPal button. Hit that. Give $1 or $2. Give a couple bucks. Help me improve. Help this so I can get better camera, better. Just help me improve. Help me help you. Thanks again. This is Johnny on the Spot. God bless. Jesus is the way.